Hello! It's Sunday. It's Python Learning Day, and you can see that. Well, my sound is working. Good. And yeah, so we are going to talk about the strings operation in Python and also Regex, because sometimes, you have to use Regex to do things to manipulate strings that you can't with a normal, string operations. By the way, I got a new chair, which I'm super happy with. It got a cushion, so it's a gaming chair. I'm very happy with that. And also, uh, today I really want people to participate in the chat. So if you have any like string operations that maybe you encounter before that you don't know how to do it in Python, maybe you can type in the chat and see if I can figure out how to do that. And because like it's kind of happens quite a lot in my work, especially when I was working as a data scientist. A lot of time you have to do string manipulations to extract the useful data from your messy data, or like even if you have a document you want to extract the information from there, then string manipulation becomes super useful. So that's why I want to dedicate it one tutorial for that. And talking about data science, I gotta start a new series tomorrow on Monday. So it's gonna be replacing the previous series that is the web one. So it's gonna be every Monday at 5 p.m. So we gotta talk about data science, and I have already come up with the name. It's gonna be called Legend of Data, but it's cooler if you pronounce it in an Australian accent. So it's Legend of Data because yeah, it's kind of inspired by a name of a famous video game. So yeah, and so it's gonna I think tomorrow I just gonna start giving an introduction of all these Python libraries that's used in data science, and then afterwards I would go a little bit like go through them one by one, and also provide some use case of that. I think it will be more like use case focused, kind of explaining the tools and what you can do rather than like data science theory. It depends on what people really need. Like if people found it's quite difficult to follow, then maybe we could do a little bit of extra tutorials about data science, like how the math is working and all this stuff. So without further ado, let's start our tutorial today. So let me go back to the slides. Yes. And so this is just a recap. I do it every week. That's kind of basically recap what we have learned previously. So we have learned all these like different Python objects. We have learned using if else and all these control flows, and some of the more complex stuff, modules, classes, decorators, and functions. Functions is everywhere in Python code, so it's very important. We did a little bit of testing, PyTest, and so this is the last tutorial from in May. So in June we're gonna start our testing month. So we're gonna talk a lot more about testing next month. So if you have any questions, again, like please type it in the chat, or I do have a little box in my Twitch that could take questions if I'm not live. Uh, or you can tweet in Twitter. If you tag me, then like also I will be able to see it. Um, so yeah, feel free to ask questions. I think that's part of the fun of doing all this, is the interaction. So I really love people participate in the chat. Really recommend if you are watching this like catch-up videos, I really wish that you could watch it live next time, because it's more fun doing it live. And so about string operations. So and well, I think we have touched a little bit of that before. When we first introduced string as an object, we kind of introduced something you can do with strings. For example, I think I have this new setup here that I could bring up the terminal here, right? So I hope I remember to toggle it like on and off. So we have this, and well, okay. So I haven't prepared very well, like usual. So by the way, this is the pyenv, is a Python environment like manager. So you can activate. I have this. I think no. I think what they named it. Yeah, Python tutorial. So this is our environment, So now if we type Python, then we'll be using Python 3.7.3. So if you haven't pay attention before that, Python 2 is dead. Well, you may still encounter some code in Python 2, or if you Google something that it pops up as Python 2. So if you find, you try to find an answer to your question, if the answer is in Python 2, ignore that. You have something else in your Google search. So look for something that's in Python 3. Don't do Python 2 unless you're working with Python 2 code, which I would highly recommend you and your colleague and your team to change it to Python 3. Okay. So this is, we are in Python, so we can do all these things. So we can do this greetings equals to, so yeah, equals to hello. So you can actually add two strings together, or three. You can add many of them, and yeah, and then now you can print greeting. Yep, you see, you can join them together, become one string. It's nothing fancy, but make sure that you don't do things like this. You don't do things like this will give you an error. Don't mix the type, and because oh, I think I am hiding this a little bit. Let me okay, let me move this up. Yeah, like this. Okay, so yeah, don't mix the type together because you have an error. So how you can do this is to change it into string, right? Okay. Just a quick recap. It's nothing fancy, and let me see what else I can do. Well, you can use f-string. I think I've demonstrated that before. That if I can copy this and and put that in the terminal, you see that some more string now is more greeting. Now, oops, oh, typo. Yeah, so now you can see that it's embedded, hello world is embedded in the more greetings. So yeah, so it's a very handy way of manipulating your strings. You don't have to, like, you have to add everything, if you have like some variables in between strings. For example, like, hey, hello world, if you, for example, more strings take multiple characters, then instead of adding them together, you could use f-string to embed your variable in it, which is super handy. Let's see if I can, yep. So you can also use join. Join is something very helpful as well. So for example, I have an example here. I can just copy it if it allows me. Oh, I know why. Okay, it's fine. It's fine. And yeah. So can I have, yeah, push this above, and but still at the bottom. Okay, fine. And oh, you're not seeing anything here. Remember to toggle it. Okay. So hello list. So you have two strings here. So it's in a in the list, and I want to join them together. So so what this is doing here, you see this is a white space dot join. So this white space we call that separator. So this is what is used to separate these two words, and or the things in your list to be more general. So you see that it will become hello, and then the separator will be the space. Well, so if you do this, you can actually have like a list of, my list could be, let's say, A, B, C. Yeah, this is a bit silly, but so you have this, and oh, sorry, I forgot to type in the equal sign. Right. Okay, so you have my list A, B, C. So what you can do now is, like, if you want to join them together, let's say if you have a list of just alphabets, and you want to join them together without the space in between, so you want to make it into one word, you can just use empty string dot join my list. So it will become ABC. So yeah, so sometimes if you have a bunch of stuff that is, I think I've done it like once or twice. Occasionally you'll find it handy. You have a bunch of things in a list. You want to join them together without anything in between. Then just use an empty string, and it could be anything. This separator could be like, a bunch of crosses. then you have a bunch of oh, actually it's difficult to see here because it looks like a mess. So let's say I put a bunch of underscore here. Yep, you would just use that as a separator. So that's it's very straightforward. And yeah, so far what we have learned so far is joining the string together. So what if I want to break them apart? So this is, we can use minus. You would get an error if you do minus. So how could you break a string? So actually we do have things that let you do that. We do have this split to break things apart. So let's go back to our terminal here. So yeah, this is an experimental setting that just toggle it on and off. So we remember we have the greetings, right? So what is greeting? So we can check actually greeting. It was hello world. Actually, like let me push it up so you can see. So you see greeting is hello world here, right? And let's do greeting.split, and it become hello, comma world. So a split actually would take an argument. So if you put nothing there, it would just default as white space. So you can have hello world there that you can break apart. But if you have something that, for example, it's like this example here that I have. What does www mean? If it's split by w, then it would just break everything with a W. So even like you see that the first one is an empty string because the first W here it doesn't got anything in front, so it's technically an empty string. So it would just be here. And this one is here. This W is a separator. So if you have a bunch of W together, you just like get a bunch of empty strings here, and then you get the rest here. So you can control what is split by. So it's quite useful if you have, let's say, a bunch of text that is separated by, let's say, a slash or a pipe, then you could use this to split it up. So yeah, another silly example here, because now we are taking a single character so far, and what if we have, can I, okay, okay, I'll push it so you can see it. Okay, so yeah, what if like I want to split it with a word rather than a character? You can actually do that as well. So it would be exactly the same, string that you put in here. So it's like you can see from this example, it would be split by 3 exclamation mark, but not 2, not 1, not 2, but 3. So it will matches the exact input here, the string that you put in here, and split it, and it will return a list of the thing that was broken apart. So so what if I have something like that, right? So this is something that we gotta solve later today, but so it's already finished running. So you see that I have a sentence that is very messy. I got a bunch of special characters to separate them, so I want to split it, but it won't do it because like I said before, it's like matching the exact thing. You can't have or, you can have underscore or slash or hash. So what you can do actually is like you can either replace it. I think a replace is something that I will show. Yeah, I will go ahead and show you replace. So you can actually do that, make use of replace. So replace is another thing. It's not split, but for example here you can see from this example, so we are replacing the exclamation mark to be the space. So you can either go to that this sentence and replace all these funky thing into a space and then split it by space, or we can do something else to do it, right? So you can see that in this example, this exclamation mark become a space because we use replace here. So this is something you can do with a string operator. That not an operator, but like a method. Is a method that applies to a string. So it's a string method, and it will do the job for you. So there are other things as well. I'll just quickly go through them. They're nothing fancy. Like for example, you want to make your word all lowercase. Sometimes it's useful when you're dealing with NLP and stuff like that, natural language processing, because you want to clean up your corpus, like clean up your training data, so you want all of them to be, let's say, lowercase. Sometimes case is useful in NLP, but sometimes you want it to be all lowercase. You can do that, and or uppercase. It's just the same, but it's uppercase. It's all cap. If you want to shout at someone, you can use it. Type your very rude word, and then you can make it uppercase as well. And another thing you can do is to capitalize it, and you see that is just making the first character to be an uppercase. If we start with something that is not a character, let's say this, I don't know, dot capitalize, then it will actually not do anything. So it needs to be a alphabet of the start of the string to make it work. Okay, so another thing you can do with string is strip. What strip does is to strip away everything in front and at the back. So like split, the default, without putting anything in, would be white spaces. So oh, by the way, white space, I mean, it's not just space, but also, tab or, other characters that is considered a white space. You can look up what characters consider white space online. So there's a bunch of funky thing. Yeah, someone here and I'm here. Yeah, I think there are a few people watching, so thank you, D3. I can't pronounce your usernames, I just call you D3. Thank you for saying hello. And yeah, so and this is removing the white space, and in front and after, it's just like something. This is useful when you after you split the word. So let's say if you have hello world, or maybe hello Cheuk, let's say you did like, I can't even spell my name. Okay, good. And split. uh, so this time I want to separate by the comma, let's say, and you get something with the space here, right? So you get the space in front of Cheuk, so you don't want that, so you need to do a strip to remove this white space. So this is when strip is going to be useful here, right? So so all these are handy tricks in data manipulation, I would say. And so you can remove, because strip doesn't only remove white spaces, it could also do remove other things. For example, all these silly exclamation mark got removed because of strip. It won't be removed if there's something in middle. So for example, I just bunch of exclamation mark in the middle, it won't get removed. It only removes the thing in front and at the back. So yeah, so that's that. And also one thing that's different, strip from others, would be that you can have, for example, here like this, right? This example, you see after I run it. So you see that, and you can actually have more than one character in your input. You can put in a whole word in there or string. But what strip does is that it will remove either a white space or an exclamation mark in this case. So so yay Sunday, become so it remove the white space and exclamation mark. So both of them we got removed. And so that's something that you can't do is that, for example, you have this and you want to remove Sunday. Let's say I want to remove Sunday. Well, actually, you can do it because it'll remove Sunday. But what if you have oh, sun is shining. Oh, on a Sunday. So okay, now you say that I want to remove Sunday at the end. So this one will give you something problematic because it will remove the sun in the beginning because it's also contained sun here. So it's not very smart to understand that it needs to be exactly this word where we just remove all the characters in it. So yeah, so that's why we need regex, which I'll explain later. So I have actually included a full list here that I found. You can find all these Python. Let me remove this. Yeah, you can find all this string method here in this one. So okay, I make it bigger so it's easier to see. So yeah, there's all of them. Like there's a lot. So I only show a few of them, and I don't want to show all of them like one by one. But some of them is used. For example, like is numeric. You can check whether that you can convert that back into a number. And yeah, I would just like let you uh, if you have any specific method you want me to show or explain, ask now. I will give you a few minutes while I'm like just scrolling through this list. But I hope you have grabbed the slides before so you can see this on your own machine. And let me know if anything. For example, split lines is just like splitting the lines at the new line character. Yeah, some of them are quite straightforward. So this one, C field, actually is useful when you are manipulating some numerical inputs that sometimes you have to pad all the zeros. And for example, what I have experienced is that I've got a CSV that it's actually it's an Excel, not a CSV. So it's there's an ID there, but it's supposed to be 6 digit, let's say, but some of the ID are quite early, so it's 00, and then followed by another 4 digit. And if you put it in Excel, if it's recognized as a number, then it will remove the 00 at the front. So and then I try to import it back in Python, and then I have to pad my own zero there. So this cvil become very useful because it's just padded string with zeros. So you can look at how it works, and I just said that you put in the width. So for example, in my use case, for example, I could do a demonstration on this one. So if I bring back my terminal here, so if I have let's say my user ID was 001234, let's say, but it become 1234 because it was put into Excel and it got removed the zeros at the front, and I try to put it back into Python, it became a string of 1234. But I know that the user ID is supposed to have 6 digits, so I can do cfill, and it's supposed to be 6 digits. Please give me 6 digits, so it will become 001234. So this is, it's a tiny function, but it becomes useful when you are dealing with messy data. And yeah, and there's lots of stuff. I won't go through all of them, but ask me any questions if you are like interested in any of them and not sure. You can ask me. Yep. So I will go back to my slides and remove this terminal thing. Okay. So yeah, I can spend all day talking about all these like string operations, but we have limited time, so no. Okay, so let's go to regex, because like we said before, there's something that it can't be done with just using strip. It is more helpful if we use regex. So what is regex? Like, it's a term that you may have seen a lot, but what actually what it is? So according to Wikipedia, that is a regex is a short term for a regular expression. So we take the reg there and take the ex from the expression. Sometimes you spell the p as well, or sometimes it's referenced as a relational expression. So when you hear that, it's the same thing. And it's actually a pattern. It's a sequence of characters. So it's a very specific string that actually contains a pattern for you to search for something. So an example here, actually I will show you there is actually a some cheat sheet here, and you can test it, but I won't go into how regex work. I think it's worth a tutorial by itself, because regex is not limited to Python. It's appearing in it's appear in the terminal if you're using Unix system, and it appears in any other programming language. So it's not unique to Python. So today we're going to talk about using regex in Python. So I would assume that you have certain knowledge of regex. If you don't worry. I'm thinking about doing a it's like my Git tutorial before. I'll do maybe a regex tutorial to explain stuff for beginners. But don't worry too much for now if you don't understand how regex work. You just need to know when you need to use regex. What should you do? I'm telling you what should you do. That's what I'm telling you today. So, for example, there are all these common regex. For example, this one means a whole number. So I can explain a little bit here. Again, I won't go into detail. So this this little thing, I don't know how you call them. I call it like to the power of, because sometimes you type that in for mathematical expression of to the power of. This noted the beginning of the sequence. So it's the beginning, and then /d means that it's a digit, it's a number, it's 0 to 9, and plus means that it could be more than one of them, and $sign means it's at the end. So you see that in this pattern, so from the beginning to the end, you only have a digit, a number, so it's a whole number. It don't even have a dot, so it's not even a decimal number, because it doesn't have a dot. It needs to be 0 to 9 for all of them. Okay. And common emails. So emails is more complex, but luckily you can always find these expressions online by just doing Google, like, oh, what's the regex for an email? So you can actually do that. If you are not familiar with regex, you can always find a solution online. Sometimes I do that, for common things like URL, IP address, email address. You can do that. And so this is saying that it's only, so this is, so by the way, this bracket here is called group. So for this group, it's quite a big group here, that it could contain either one of these. So it could contain a small small letter, a uppercase letter, and a number, a dot, or underscore, or a percentage, and a hyphen. So any of these. So it could be any number of those. So as long as you have one or above, then it's fine. You can have a super long email address, it's fine. I don't care. And then it need to be followed by an @ sign. So for example, like you have my dot domain at, I don't know, actually my name, my dot name at gmail.com, something like that. But so you have an @ and then followed by this is again any of these. You can have more than one, any number of those, and then you will have a dot. So this is this is also used as an escape. So it means that this actually mean a dot. It doesn't mean something special. Okay, so dot, it needs to be a character, but it it can have. So last time we have the plus, so it means that like it doesn't matter how many of them. It could be from one to many. But this one now I'm restricting them to be either 2 2 to 6, so it can't be more than 6, it can't be less than 2. So because if you have gmail.com or gmail.co.uk, like it would be like 2 letters, and actually .co.uk won't pass this one because oh no, it won't pass this one because it's only one dot here. So you can only have .com, .info, and yeah, so it's only 6. So it's a more strict format here. You can't have the modern, some of the modern domains are crazy, right? You can have dot top seller or something like that. I don't know. So yeah, so this is more like an old school have style restriction on what email you can get. Okay, and this is another example. So it's time. So it's supposed to be hour, minutes, and seconds, and it's 24 hours. So so here you have, and so yeah, this is more complicated. So you need to have a this 0 or 1, and this is actually quite complicated. So it's yeah, because this is hour, so it's like it's restricting. It could have, you can't have something crazy. You can't, at most you have like, you can have 00, or at most you can have like 23, but you can't have, so because hours you can't have more than 24. So it's something like that. So I can't even like explain that much, in here because this is a more complex one. And this is the colon here in the middle here. Colon, you can see that there's some restriction on the hours what you can be, and like restriction on um, the minutes as well. You can have more than 60, so, and this is the seconds again, can't have more than 60, so that's why it's 0 to 5. So yeah, and so don't worry if you kind of found this complicated, because like I said, most of the time you can Google this online. So I found it out online. I will show you the link afterwards, but yeah, I don't come up with them myself. And very handy tool, I'll also show it here, is that this is a tool that you could test your regular expression. So for example, let's go back to here. Let's take this one, this complicated one. So you can put here, and so yeah, it also explains this to you as well. So yeah, you can see that yeah, it's, well, I won't read it. You read it yourself. This is super complicated, but yeah, what you can do is that you could have like so the time now is, let's say, what's the time? Okay, 1:31, and I don't know the second. Let's make it up to 3. So you see that this is got highlighted because this one is a match. So you can use it. This is very handy. You can use it to test. I will make it bigger so you can see, right? Yeah. So you can see that you put in your regular expression if you are not so sure that it will matches all the things that you want it to match, and you could test it before you put it in your program to make sure that it works, right? So another useful thing is the cheat sheet. Like I said, I can't even remember all these, like what the symbols mean, so this one tell you all of them. And the funny thing is, like sometimes in different languages it got like interpret in a different way, so it's handy to have this to double check whether it's working. Yeah, so this is super handy, and I use it quite a lot as well. So all this link is in the slide, so I hope you have grabbed the slide so you will have it. And oh, this one is the one that I found all these examples here. So it's the common regex, like I said before. If you want to grab an email or grab a telephone number or a URL, this is very handy. Yeah, for you to just copy what some other people's written down. Even if you can't find it here, if you Google what's the regex of this, like let's say what's the regex of a UK postcode, then usually someone has already written that because it's a common thing that people want to do regex on, and you may be able to find it on Stack Overflow. So don't worry too much. I won't go into detail about regex here. You just need to follow the cheat sheet and try to make up the expression. But most of the time you can just Google it. So how to use regex in Python? That's why we're talking about regex here, right? So because we are learning Python and how to use that in Python. So in Python, so it's different from JavaScript that in JavaScript you can just put in your regex like slash, it's just like what we had before. You can just put in that one, and then JavaScript will know that is the regex. But in Python, we would use a standard library called RE, so regular expression. Yep. So we'll just try this example here. Let me bring back up the terminal. Oh, okay. So, and clear this up. Okay. So let's run it, and you see that now it works like what I want to do before. So import RE, and then so everything needs to be RE dot because we're using regex. So we can tell this is if you look it up, then that is either one of these character. So we split from that sentence, which is this one, and any of these characters split it up, so it now breaks into normal words for me now, which is cool, which is very cool. And You can do other things with regex, just like your string operations. You can do other stuff. You can it's like replace. You can do a substitution. So like I said before, you can replace them with, let's say, spaces here. So see that now it becomes like a normal sentence for me, which is great. Remove all this crazy stuff and just give me back the white spaces. And so you can also search for pattern. So for example, let's run this. So I want to search where are these crazy characters. And so so this this is a match object. So I will talk about match object in the next slide. But what this is doing is that is look for any matches in the sentence. Oh, so where's the sentence? Okay, yeah. So it's like, remember, Python is a 0 index, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's 5, 2, and not including 6. So a 6 would be so 5 and 6, but not including 6. So it's just this one. So this is what is capturing. This is showing you the first one that is matching, but and there is other like a method that you could match it more than once. You can find all of them. But for search, it's just find you the first one and it's considered done. I'm done. But yeah, if you want to find all of them, you have to do like, maybe you want to grab it, and then you need to start from from 6, and then you can actually put in. If I remember correctly, let's go on the documentation to see. Yeah, you can tell when the when the search is starting. So is this showing here? No, it's not showing here. Let me do a. Can I find the documentation for this, please? Ari.search. Yeah. So Ari.search here. Okay. So it's showing me search, right? So yeah, it's pattern and string is flags. So what is flag does? And oops, sorry, you are not seeing this. And produce a match. Yeah, I yeah, I think there's like some way that you could tell regex like where to start looking, or you can just use like do a Python thing. Like for example, you have already found the first underscore. For example, you have already found it, and like, okay, I want to find the second one. What should I do? So you can do like a a regex search, and then this time you just I would only do search on from the 6. This because the 6 is the one that is after and onwards. Then you will have another match, which is this time you have to add it up, because 3 is actually from here. So 3 for 6 is position 9 actually. So 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. So yeah, it's finding this one this time. Yeah, you could do something like that, or there's other regex methods that you can use to do that. And so yeah, you can have a you can put it like this. This is another example. It will find re in that sentence, which is let's go back to the sentence. Is so here. So 0 1 2 3, so 3, and then 4, and then so it's like the span will be 3 to 5. Yeah, right. Okay, I hope it makes sense. Let me know if it doesn't, then I could explain a little bit more. And the thing I want to show you is this one, and let me remove this. So yeah, what we were using is re.search, and re.search gives you a match object. So it's sometimes quite easy to confuse about match and search, and so this bit is telling you the difference between re.match and re.search. So re.match it will start matching from the beginning of your string. So for example, super is looking for super from the beginning of your string. So it will work if you start with something super. So it would tell you that it's spanned from 0 to 5. But if super appears in the middle of your string, if you use match, then it will give you nothing because, oh, this first thing is I, then it will never match with the S. So, okay, I'm done. I can't find it. It's not a match. But search will actually go through all of them and find it, even if it's in the middle for you. So you can see that the span can be starting from 2. But for match, it can only start from 0. So that's the difference. Yeah. So there's other things that you could read about. I won't go through them right now. Yeah. So match object is the last thing I want to cover today. So you see that from before, right? From our terminal here. So after we have done the re.search, or if you can run re.match as well, it also give you a match object. So this match object contains the result that is from the re search. So this is an example here. So what I can do is okay, I'll just copy the first thing here, and okay, so what I've done is that I have looked for something. So okay, so what are we looking for here? So this /w plus this one means that some characters that is not a white space. So anything that is not a white space, and it could be any number of them. It could be a lot of them, and it's in the bracket. So this means that it's a first match. So it's a group. So and actually we have 2 groups here. So we are looking for a bunch of characters that's not a white space, separated by a white space, and a bunch of not white space characters. So what it gives us back? So it gives us back a match object that we haven't looked at yet, but it says that it's a match object, and well, it's actually a hint that it got this. The span is from 0 to 12, so it's actually here. So this is the term that's matching. So you see that because we are looking for two kind of words that are separated by white space. So Isaac Newton basically fulfilled that. So it's matching. But if we want to look at what's matching the first group here, we can do m, which is our match object, dot group 1. So it'll give me back Isaac. The same manner, you can get back Newton as well. Or if you do something more funky, which is in this documentation here, you can do something super funky that, for example, is doing something like this one. Okay, so I got to just copy that and put it in here. Right, so you see that is I am giving a name of this group. So the name of this group is called first name. So Malcolm Reynolds would be this time mesh object is this new one, and I can actually ask for the first name. So I could do the mesh object dot group, and I could go for first name. Oop, why is not defined? Did I spell something wrong? Let me see. And oh, I have to put my bad. It's supposed to be in a quotation because it's a name of the group, so it's not a variable in Python, right? So you can do that to get back the first name. So this is something very cool, but I can't see myself use it very often. And also, if let's say if I have a match, like I said, what if I have a multiple match? So this one. So what we are looking for is to like any thing, 2 of them. It could be a multiple group. So all of these actually matches, which just like 2 of them would be a same one. So and so it matches with A1, matches with B2, C3. So but it will only give me back the last one that is matches. So it will ignore the previous ones, and yeah, not very. So you have to be careful when you have multiple matches. Yeah. So what else? So far, any questions about this? So yeah, if that so there are lots, like I have included the documentation page here for you to see. So there's a lot of info here about the match object. So again, the link is in the slide, so you can have a look. I explain all this stuff for you. And oh, also you can use the span here to look at the span. I don't think that's super difficult, but you can always do the span. Also, you can yeah. So put a group in there, so it tell you when. So it's the same as group, but instead of showing the matches, it show you the span, where it appears and where it ends. Yeah, I don't think that's much. So you can also check the span as well. And right. So the last thing, I always do this like almost a ritual now. That at the end I would expand our e-commerce code that we have built a few weeks ago, and try to add the stuff that we learned today to it. So let me go to the coding tutorial one, so you can see my code here. Right, so we have this eShop thing. Let's come here. Yeah. So today what I'm gonna do is like maybe I want to get the user's email and check whether it's a correct email address. So so what I gotta do is that I gotta have a new thing. Let's say I collect the user's email as well. Let's go email, right? So I have so if you remember, we have all these like getter and setter. So I would have a getter and setter for email. So for example, I can just copy what I do with address. This one will be email. And I'll get back the email. The getter is fine. The setter, I would change it a little bit. So so I would check with more that whether is more than is a string, right? So I would need to also check whether is a correct regex. And so oops. Right. Oops. So I gotta do a email validator here. So I have this input here, and I could actually do, oh, I have to import regex, right? So I'll do an import, and I gotta do, so match would be re dot. This time I can do match because it needs to be exactly the same. It can't have something like to fool around at the beginning. So we use a re dot match, and I would put in that email thing that we got to cheat a little bit. Go back to the slides and copy that email regex that we have before. So this one, okay. I don't need this slash thing because this marks that is a regex string. In Python, you don't need that because you're using re already. So, and oops, why my code is my code go a little bit funny. Sorry. So this is the regex string that we have, and we got to check the input whether it matches. Okay. So now if it's not a match, remember we get a none, right? So it won't. Well, if it's a match, I'll get a match object. If it's not a match, I'll get a none. So so because none is considered false, so I can do. Oops, do I say? Oh, I put it in the wrong place. How come? How come I put it in the wrong place? I don't know. So let me put it back here. Okay. So and but actually I want to check whether it's a string first before we do this, because if it's not a string, then this one will give me an error. So if it's not a string, then it will raise the value error. So if it's a string, then do this match. So if not match, then because like this will give me a none, so not none is considered true because none is considered false. So I would raise, again I would just raise a value error and say that oh, this should be email address. So I would say not a value, not a valid email address. Okay, so let's save it and see if this work. So what I can do is that I can test it here. So you know, I have all these things. So oh, actually I can initialize it with my email as well. So email. So this time, well, email will be email, so it's fine. But what if I change my email and I give something? Actually, I should call that validator before I put it here as well. So okay, so this is not a very cool design. So yeah, it should you know, it should also do that. You know, um, so it should be a, what I gotta do is that I have to change all of this if I change the design, but I'll just change the email for now, just as an example. So I would actually call you know, a emails equals to, actually self.email equals to email here instead of this. So we would run the thing. So let me put a my email at gmail.com. Let's say. I don't know if someone owns this email address though. Like that would be funny. And right, so let's exit this one and and enter our tutorial. So where do I put my tutorial? Yep. And what we are here is that putting the date of the date, and we have example, and then I would run e. Yep. Yeah. So it's a valid email, so it's fine. So now it runs perfectly. What if I put in a wrong email here? So I put in, you know, just some rubbish here. See if this works. And right. Yeah, so it gave me the error, so it's not a valid email address. So let me go here so you can see better. Yeah, so you see that it's give me an error saying that it's not a valid email address. So it does work. It does check that it, you know, it's yep. Oh, sorry, it's yep. So it's really does check whether the email is valid or not. So yeah, I think that's it for today. Is I hope you found this useful, and especially for, you know, when you're handling data, and like I said before, let me go back to my ending slide so you can see things, right? Okay, so oh, by the way, all of these is uploaded. There's no homework here this week, but all of them is uploaded in my repo on GitHub. So yeah, that's the link for you. And so next week is our testing week. Like I said before, that we gotta do a mocking and patching in PyTest. So we'll dive deeper into PyTest. We gotta use some, you know, because when you do, you know, testing in, let's say you test if you have something like, let's say your API, so how can you test it before you integrate it? So you would actually need to mock that object. You have to replace that by something that is, you know, to mimic what your API, you know, what will you get from your API or something like that. So that's something that could be very handy. So yeah, and and like I said again, tomorrow I will have a Python tutorial, Python for data science tutorial, the legend of data. I will keep saying it's the legend of data in an Australian way because it sounds cooler. And Yeah, so I hope to see you tomorrow. If not, then like we always have, Meet Pie is we will have interview with. So actually, we will kick off our web framework week. So we have an interview with this the coming one. We'll have the the Django core developer Adam Johnson to join us, and then the week after we'll have David from Flask to join. So yeah, so hope to see you then, and bye bye. Enjoy your Sunday.